Tonight's Torah HaKadoshah is sponsored Yortzai plaque, Jewish shoulder, and yeah, and Aryeh ben Yisrael Yechiel, father of David, and Oscar Yablon, Asher ben Litman Halevi, father of Abe Yablon. We have over here a very special time that we're in right now, and many people don't properly understand what this time is about. And this is the overlooked day of Tu Beav, the 15th of Av. What exactly is Tu Beav, and what is the significance and importance of it? Just a few minutes ago, there was a potential tachnan, and there was no rabbi here. And then suddenly it was decided, no tachnan. Tu Beav is tonight. What was that all about with that tachnan? So in Siman Kuf Lamed Aleph, Hilchos Tachnan, in Sifav, the Shulchan Aruch writes, Nahagu shaloi liipol al paneim betu beav. Custom is not to do Tachnan on Tu Beav. Very good, but we're on the eve of Tu Beav. So at the end of the day, if you look down at the Mishnah Brew over here, the Mishnah Brew explains, the Gemara says, it's a Yom Tov Gadol, big Yom Tov. Oh, Yom Tov Gadol, we're driving. Good. We're going to come back to that, of course. The Mishnah Berurah, to quote you, where is that Mishnah Berurah? The Gemara Isa Yom Tov Gadol Bezman HaMikdash. During the time of the base of Mikdash, it was a big Yom Tov. Then the Mishnah Berurah seems to say that on the eve of Tisha B'Av, of Tu Beav, we also don't do it. What exactly is Tu Beav about? What's so special about it nowadays? What was it? What is it? So for this, we don't need to do anything fancy. We just need to open up a Gemara in Tanis. The last Mishnah of the last parak, the way that's in the Bavli, it's one long Mishnah. One long Mishnah. Turning over to Chavav Amid Beis, Mishnah says, Mishnah quotes, Amar Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel lo hayu yomim toivim liyisrael kechamisha sar ba'av ki Yom Kippurim. There was no holiday for the Jewish people like the 15th of Av and Yom Kippur. Obviously, there's a lot to say about this. We're equating the Mishnah. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel is equating Yom Kippur to Tu Beav. Shebehem benoitz Yerushalayim yoitzois bekli lavon sheulim. Because the Jewish females who were unmarried would go out wearing white clothing. They would go out in order not to embarrass someone who didn't have. And the Mishnah continues and gives a nice drasha. The Gemara over here elaborates on this. One of the final Gemaras of the Masechta, Amamid Amid Beis. Well, let's start with Lamed Aleph, actually. Things get interesting over here. What would they do? They will go out and dance. And the Gemara says, someone who wasn't married would go there and he would look for a spouse. This is what Yom Kippur's about. We're going to dance parties? You're seeing who's a better dancer? That's who you're going to get married to? That's Tu Beav? So this question, there's two ways of asking it. There's the ninth grader who's asking his Rebbe in a chutzpah way, oh, this Torah is fake, it doesn't make sense. And then there's someone who really wants to figure out what's going on over here. And if we are able to figure this out, then we could perhaps tap into the depths of what Tu Beav is about. Gemara over here, back on Lamed Amid Beis, relates the importance of Yom Kippur. It's a happy time because it's a time of slicha and mechila, and it's a time when the last luchos were given, time of tremendous forgiveness, which seemingly is different than the reason that the Mishnah provided what Yom Kippur was about. But we're not going to focus on Yom Kippur. The Mishnah discusses the importance of this also. But then the Gemara asks, Ela Tu Beav Mahi. What is so special about Tu Beav? So the Gemara says, Amar Rav Yehuda, Amar Shmuel, Yoim Shehutu Shvatim Lavo B'zeh. From a historic perspective, it used to be that only people within their tribe would marry one another. This opened the gates. All of the tribes would now start marrying one another. And the Gemara then proceeds to list other reasons. Binyamin was allowed to then marry back in. Rabbi Yochanan says that's when people stop dying in the midbar. Ula says that's when Hoshea ben Allah, that he got the guards over there that Yerovim ben Navat appointed to prevent the Jews from being oilel regel to going to the base of Mikdash. He got them out of there. Rav Masna says that it's when the people at Beitar stopped that Yom Shenisna Harugi Beitar Lekavur, they were able to get buried, like we darshan the pasuk in benching. Hatoiv Shlo Etzrichu Meitiv Shenosnu Lekavur, they were able to get buried, and there was no decay on the bodies. Also with the wood for the mizbeach, fine. You have a lot of reasons, but let's try to attempt to address the original question that we're asking, which is, what is Tu Beav about? It's about this, obviously. But what is the real big simcha? Which one is it? And what exactly does this mean someone who isn't married would go out looking for a spouse this way? What type of system was this? So, one of my favorite Rishonim, which isn't learned so much, the Kol Bo addresses this. The Kol Bo, due to the amazing technology of the Otzar Chachma, is able to look at it inside. And the Kol Bo writes, he asked this question, and he said, in life, it's always good, it's just my own idea, always good to have plan A, plan B. This was not a plan A to go out and start dancing to try to now find someone to marry you. This was a plan B. And the Kol Bo says something very logical over here in Siman Samach Beis. He says, if they wouldn't go out, what do you want them to do? You want these females to sit around until their hair gets gray? Till they get too old to be of the right age? So, therefore, it's the plan B. That already addresses a lot of points. The Michtam, Sefer Hamichtam adds, that generation that we're talking about was a very holy generation. They were very kosher. They were only doing things for the sake of heaven. It was complete l'shem shemayim. Just to elaborate on that a little bit more, what that means. The Ritva, not on this Gemara, but on Baba Basra, Kuf Chaf Aleph, says, why were they wearing specifically white? So a lot of Torahs also on the garments that they were borrowed. That's something else. But why were they wearing white clothing? White could get dirty very easily. It's not the most practical thing. You're dancing in fields. They didn't have paved roads back then. Gets dirty. Dust gets kicked up, etc. Why white? So the Ritva answers that what does white symbolize? Pureness. Purity, right? And the Yetzer Hara, right? It shows that a person's going to remain clean and his mind will remain pure. That's what the white symbolizes. But Rabbi Desler, in the Michtav Meliyahu, very easy to remember where, Chalek Daled, page 180, he says, he goes into this Gemara that we're talking about, and he quotes a Targum, and we clearly see that Yom Kippur is being equated to Tu Beav. Something very special is going on over here. We have to pay attention to this, focus on this. He makes also some very practical points as to what was going on over here. This wasn't a show. This wasn't not an activity. Entertainment, that's the word. Everyone's looking for kosher entertainment nowadays. Something to do on the side. This wasn't an entertainment sort of activity. This was strictly business. They were going there to get married. People who were married were not showing up. This was only people who weren't married. Rakadei Liros. Now in the summertime, as we know, we don't need to go far. Many people are not dressed as modest as we would like sometimes. What is the prohibition of seeing a sight that we're not supposed to look at? the Sefer Emunah, he says, when a person sees a sight, he didn't want to see it, but he saw it. And at that moment, he doesn't continue to look, but he goes to a completely different area. He could daven, he could be mispalo ba'oisa sha'a at that moment for whatever he wants, and he'll be answered. In other words, this is a massive elaboration in of itself, which is already off topic, but the problem is not accidentally seeing something that we didn't want to see. It's continuing to see it. It's the same thing over here. There's a chiluk between Riyah and his staklus. A quick glance at something, when a person didn't want to see it, that we're not going to be held accountable for. But when a person continues to gaze and gaze, then that forest fire is going to get too big. And we see what's going on around the world with forest fires that are too big, whether it's in California, whether it's in Canada, whether it's in Spain, whether it's in Eretz Israel, you name it. Even with all the technological advancements that we have nowadays, pretty hard to put that thing out. Takes a lot of money, a lot of resources, and a lot of times we're not even able to do it. So we have to put the fire out earlier. People were going, not to stare, they were going, they were looking, see that it's good, finished. Is a Kiddush of Zahirus. We're going to look for days and days. You look, okay. Furthermore, we know the Gemara teaches us that also lakadsh isha ad shirána. Person is not allowed to get married to someone unless he sees her. You gotta know what you're getting. You have to make sure you're attracted. Same thing. You buy anything. When was the last time a person bought a house? He didn't go in the house to check it out. He didn't look at a video pictures of it. He said, I'm buying it. No one's going to put down $1 million, $2 million to buy a house, 500,000, whatever it is, if he's not going to look at it. Right? So, happened over here is that also the whole discussion of a blind person. That's also a side topic. But we see that it was a quick glance just to make sure everything was good. And it was done noira hatznius, in a tremendous modesty. This method was done.
What you quoted,
Yeah.
that there were eligible boys there.
No, it was only people
Who's going to see them?
Who's
going to see the girl?
It was only people who were the right age to get married, and they were going to look for their person to marry. That was the only person. That's what it's referring to. That's what it's referring to.
Both of them were boys there.
Yeah, it was. The only people the marriageable age that were there. And furthermore, there's a difference between if a person is in a one-on-one private setting versus if it's a group setting in public. Nothing's going to happen that's inappropriate in a group set. So all of this, but one of my favorites of all time, and I am the furthest thing from Sephardi, but you gotta love the Ben Ish Chai. In the Ben Yehoyada, he has a beautiful setup over here. He goes into Yom Kippur a little bit first, even though we're really focusing on Tu Beav. It's just too good not to quote what he says about Yom Kippur. And he says like this: Yom Kippur is a day of forgiveness, as we know from the Gemara. And that's when we were given the second luchos, which lasted, etc. That's when we were forgiven for the golden calf. And therefore, every single year it's a day of forgiveness. And that's why specifically on Yom Kippur, the holiest day of the year, be involved with marriage arrangements. Yeah. Why? Because we have a well-known Gemara. Not many people know where it is. It's not in the Bavli, to my knowledge. It's Yerushalmi Meseches Bikurim. Yerushalmi says, Perek Gimel Halacha Gimel. Very easy to remember. Gimel. Anyone who gets married is going to be forgiven for his sins. So therefore, consequently, it's very appropriate to have this shidduchim happen on Yom Kippur because it's double forgiveness. It's a common denominator. Makes sense. But again, we're talking about Tu Beav over here, so let's not lose track of what we're dealing with. That the real reason is, I wouldn't say myself, Ben Ish Chai says it. We had a bunch of reasons, numerous reasons that the Gemara provides as to why Tu Beav is so special. The main reason is this: that people were able to get married because the tribes were now able to marry one another. The person is looking for an item. We'll give again as an example a house, but there's not much on the market. It's overpriced. There's very limited supply. It's going to be hard to buy a house in that specific area if a person wants it there. But if the supply goes up, that usually also affects the demand. The price will go down. Everything will be good. There's more to choose from. Right? No one likes going to a simcha or some sort of sit-down dinner, and now the main course is hit or miss. You don't like the main course. What are you going to eat? If you have 10 different options, it's a different story. So or 12. So the tribes, when they were able to marry one another, that was much better. And that helped with the shidduchim over here. Person had more options. That helped. That helped. So therefore, to summarize everything, that's why Tu Beav is so special. Because of these around 6 different reasons, but in particular, this with the marriage. This parsha in Eikev, pretty much every single rabbi opens up his drasha and talks about being careful with the light mitzvahs. Eikev Tishmon, it's a heel person, dashbe kavav, that he steps on. Be careful with the light mitzvahs. For us, looking around the room, I'm probably one of the younger ones here. We're all in the later stages of life, most of us. And already a lot of people marrying off kids are in that stage. And the question is, what could we really do? So that's obviously a major discussion. But just one thought, which is very easy. People a lot of times, they go to specialists, they try all these procedures, tens and thousands of dollars they're spending all these issues. We're in the white shul over here. Doesn't hurt to daven about it. It's the least we could do. Something easy. We can't do anything more. At least minimally just to daven about it. So we should all have a good night. Hopefully this will provide more insight to what Tu Beav is about, this overlooked special time. And everyone should have a wonderful night. Rabbi Chanan ben Akasha, Amar Atzah Kadosh Baruch Hu, L'zachos Yisrael, L'chiv 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 L'chiv